Welcome everyone to this interview about women's football marketing, an interview of the blog Xavi a blog born to improve women's football with marketing. Today, it's a pleasure to welcome our very special guest, Priscilla Janssens. For those who may not know her, Priscilla is one of the most influential women in sports I know, especially in women's football. We met at the UEFA Women's Euro 2017 in the Netherlands, where she was the UEFA venue director. She started her career in football assisting the foreign players at Ajax, as Zlatan Ibrahimovic or Maxwell. Currently, she works for FIFA as general coordinator and for UEFA as venue director. She has been for many years involved in the top major football events, including Champions League, World Cups, Euros, and many tournaments. Recently, she was the general coordinator for the city of Roston-on-Don in the last FIFA Men's World Cup. She will also be working this summer in the FIFA Women's World Cup in France, and she will also work at the Women's World Cup of 2015 in Canada. Priscilla works also as an operational director for the Dutch foundation TopSport Community, a Dutch foundation born to share knowledge between top sport, business and science, with the aim of fostering progress in society. She was also involved in the development of the Women's Football League in the Netherlands, the Eredivisie. She also worked at the Rio Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. In short, she's one of the most influential, humble and kind persons I have ever met in women's football and in the sports industry. Priscilla, thank you very much for your time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Xavi. You're very kind.
Priscilla, we would like to start the interview knowing more about your experience with FIFA and UEFA. So, what is one useful lesson you took from working in women's football with FIFA and UEFA?
Well, Xavi, for me, what I see in UEFA and FIFA is that they really take a front-runner role. So I think from the first time I was working with them, I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were taking women's football very seriously. And I think this is very important when you work in a marginal sport, which it was at the time when I started working in women's football, is that when you are promoting this sport, you take it seriously and you pretend that it is a big sport. So you pretend and you act with the goal that you wanted to have. So if you wanted to grow, you should act as if it's a big sport already. And I think that this is the lessons I took from FIFA and UEFA, that they already from the start were treating women's football as a big and grown sport. And they really took a front runner role in developing the tournaments. If you see the amount of teams that have increased over the years, and also the level of professionality in the organization of the tournament.
Okay, sure. And just seeing the FIFA that they have predicted and set a goal of 1 billion views for the next Women's World Cup, that says a lot.
Absolutely.
Says a lot
Yes.
about what you're saying.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't believe that it can be big, then nobody will believe it. So if you are working to increase a sport, you need to believe that it can be big, and you need to treat it as a big sport. And I think this is my biggest lesson. And if you see now in the run up to the World Cup in France, it really is a big tournament. There are 24 teams, so there's been an increase in the amount of teams, and there's a lot of staff in all the different stadiums, all the venues, and also at HQ. So coming from the World Cup in Russia to the Women's World Cup, of course, it's a little bit smaller, but it's very much bigger than it was 4 years ago in Canada.
And talking about the next World Cup, Priscilla, that you will be working there, what footprint do you think that the World Cup can leave for the future women's football?
Well, I think, again, you were speaking about 1 billion views. I think the goals, the targets that are set for this Women's World Cup are, again, a big step higher than last time. I think also in women's football, we need to also have patience. We have a tendency to compare ourselves to men's football, which is not really fair, because I think the development of women's football is probably 20, 30 years behind from men's football. So it's also simply a matter of catching up and having patience in increasing the game and also the footprint. But I think, again, France will be an amazing tournament. There will be probably more fans in the stadium. There will definitely be more views. There's more people working on communications and media, also from FIFA. So hopefully that will result in more exposure. And everything is, it's a circle, right? If there are more people in the stands, more people watching the games on television, there's an increasing sponsor interest, which means more money, which means the development of everything. So I think France will be another big step and setting the bar higher again for the tournament after that.
Yes, I totally agree, especially when we have seen that the World Cups, they set a huge moment for growth for sport, either men's or women's. Which barrier do you think is a huge barrier that women's football need to overcome to grow massively?
I don't think there is a massive barrier. I think that is something that people think. I think it's a matter of time. As I said before, it is growing. It's growing immensely. If you compare it to other women's sports, it's growing really fast. And it's a matter of time, and it's a matter of keeping the momentum going. So as the front runners, UEFA, FIFA, and all the other confederations, CONMEBOL, CAF, they should be the ones leading the way. And I think they are. I mean, if you see UEFA this year signed a deal with Visa for the sponsorship of women's football overall. What they did is, before the Women's Champions League, for instance, was together with Men's Champions League rights. The same with the Women's Euro, the Men's Euro. Now they've taken that all apart and put all the women's rights together. And that was a really big step. And by leading the way in that way as well, and putting down the example of how you can do it, the federations will follow, and they say, hey, it works. And then they can do the same. So I don't think there's a big barrier. I think it's a matter of time.
Okay. And regarding sponsorship, I guess that Women's World Cup will give more awareness for clubs as well and for domestic leagues. What approach do you think that could be useful for clubs to attract sponsors?
So for me, what I find is that sponsors, so business organizations, they sometimes are not quite sure how to have a campaign around women's football, how to position women's football with their brand. So I think what we noticed from the Eredivisie is that we needed to come up with ideas for the companies. So instead of going, okay, we would like your money, and then you have to think of how you're going to use us, to put it that way, we did it the other way around. So we came up with ideas how we could increase the brand of the company and how they could put us in their promotional in their promotions. So I think that really helps. And I think also before there was a lot of bias towards women's football, and I think that is definitely going away. So I think nowadays it's a lot easier. Plus, something that I think is interesting, also the stories of the football players. The girls have a lot of great stories, and these can also be often used. And they have very different backgrounds. They have there's so many hooks you can use. There's so many things you can use by actually looking at the girls. What they did really smartly in Germany, the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, is they took a couple of players from the team and gave them, and who had different images. So you had the tough tomboy, you had the very feminine girl with long hair. You had different sporty, almost like the Spice Girls, Sporty Spice, Baby Spice, whatever. And they used that to connect with different target groups. So this is also an interesting way of looking at it. The girls who play football are very diverse, and you could use that to have a campaign around it. So there's a lot of great examples, but I think it sometimes we need to help the companies and the sponsors, the partners, to find what works for them.
And I think that you touch one of the most interesting points, that is creating and giving visibility to role models, to football players as role models, because their personal lives, they can be very interesting and appealing to people. And talking about fans and fan attendance, what practical actions or what initiatives do you think that clubs can take to bring more people into the games?
Well, I think compared to, in general, men's football, fans can get much closer to the girls, to the players. So I think this is a part that we should really foster and really cherish. That that the fans give out autographs, that they meet the fans, that they take time, that the players really take time to meet the fans, invite them to training sessions. When you go to especially the big men's clubs, a lot of trainings are closed. It's very difficult to get close to the players. But in women's football, it's not yet that way, and this is something we should cherish, and we should use when we are trying to interest the fans. Of course, also women's football has a lot of young fans, kids, girls, and get them involved, get them close to the players, make them feel that they are really know the players. I think this is something that we have a big advantage towards men's football.
Sure, and I guess that the role of media is also important in order to get people to know when games are happening. What message,
Yes,
what message
for sure.
or approach do you think that we could tell media in order to
Well,
get
I
more
think
attention?
what I noticed here in the Netherlands for the Euro in 2017, that people were so enthusiastic about women's football because of the fair play, because of the approachability again of the players, and also the real story that they told, the reactions they had after the games, which seemed much more realistic than when the men are interviewed. So I think these are things that we need to send across. I mean, I spoke to my neighbor here is 93 years old, and she never watches football, but she loved the women's football because she said the girls are like they are so it's such fair play. They're not rolling around. They're not asking for cards. They're not complaining to the referee the whole time. So this part of women's football, which we should cherish, we should really also protect it, and hopefully, I mean, some people say, yeah, but as the game develops, then it'll be more like men's football. Maybe so, but I hope not, because I think this is a fantastic part of women's football, and it also sets it apart from men's football. And I really hope that we cherish that, and that the respect for the other team, the respectful behavior of coaches towards each other, towards the team, towards the referees, is something in women's football that I hope we are able to maintain, and that will set us apart in a very positive way.
Sure, and I recall a moment there in the Netherlands in the Euros where I think that you were discussing about the fact of putting separation between the bus and the fans, and you were actually saying that one of the most special and attractive parts of women's football is this approachability. So this was one of the measures to protect this feeling. And Priscilla, moving to a more professional side, I think that you have been and you are an inspirational and a role model for people in the industry and also for women in sports. And what is one book or and if you are keen on reading books, what are some recommendations that you can give that can be helpful or that have had a good influence in your professional career?
Yes. So yeah, for me, and I have it here. My favorite book on sports is this book. Can you see it?
Yes, legacy.
Legacy. So it's a book. It's written about by James Kerr, and the most successful sports team in the world are the All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team. And James Kerr went there for a time being, and he was looking at the factors which were determining for their success. And this is a fantastic book on sports leadership. And I have read it many times over, and I often use the lessons that are in this book also in my work. So when I'm leading my team, as a general coordinator, especially when we have a big team, I use the examples of this book. And it's all about giving trust to your team. One part I really love about it is that when a new player comes to the All Blacks, he receives a book with the history of the All Blacks. Okay. So who were the big players? What is the history? They have the haka, as we all know. Where does that come from? What are the origins? But at the back of the book are a couple of white pages. And then the new player is asked, so what are you going to contribute to the history of the All Blacks? Wow. So this is so interesting because, first of all, everybody has to read the book because otherwise they don't know where they're going to be. But then they have to actively think about what they're going to contribute. And this is interesting in any situation, in any team that you work with, whether it's a sports team or a team like we have working for an event, but also even in a family. You know, what are you contributing? And how do others see that? How do they see your contribution? It could be completely different to what you think you're contributing. Maybe somebody says something that you don't even know that you are contributing. So I find that really interesting. So this would be my number one recommendation for anyone who's in sports leadership. Needs to read this book. Perfect. And get inspired.
Sure, we take note on that, and of course I also believe that taking action is, I mean, reading books is fine and it's great because you learn a lot, but as you say, taking action is one of the most important parts to put practical knowledge into that. And looking at your trajectory and your career in sports, Priscilla, what do you think it has been an apparent failure or maybe a moment of struggle that it has set you for later success?
Oof, it's an interesting question. Yeah, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Okay. However, it is true that our mistakes, to put it like that, we learn much more from our mistakes than from our successes. I mean, that's a given in all of life. So I can't really remember a big mistake. Of course, things go wrong. Things go wrong in events. I had in the Olympics in Brazil. I was in charge of the stadium of Manaus, okay. And my operator upstairs, when we had the Nigeria match, Nigeria-Denmark, if I remember well, he put on the wrong anthem. He put on the anthem of Niger instead of Nigeria. So, of course, at the moment it happens, you want to die because you cannot believe it. You cannot turn it back. It's happened. And he was quite arrogant beforehand. Every time I would tell him something, to do something, he would say, I know, I've done this for 15 years. And I kept telling him, no, but, we need to, no. So this was definitely a lesson for me, again, to, even though somebody says, I know it, you have to go back and check. At the same time, we're all humans. We're not robots, and it's human work. And you cannot, we are not robots, luckily, and so things can go wrong. And the acronym of Nigeria was NGA, and the acronym of Niger was NIG. So the mistake is easily made. I mean, you don't want it to happen, and the moment it happens, you want to die. Yeah. But in the end, if you look at the mistake that's made, it's understandable, even though it should not happen. So these things happen. We as general coordinators are then responsible. So nobody is very happy at that moment. But things happen, and luckily there are more important things in life and in the world than playing a wrong anthem, and life goes on. And and then next time you check it 16 times and maybe something else goes wrong. So it's all part of it, and it's at the end of the day, you have to, maybe that's the lesson. The moment it happens, you deal with it, you get on with it, and then you get on with your work. You cannot hang in it and get depressed and no, because 2 days later there's another match and you get on with it and you get on with your work and your life.
Exactly, and especially in football, know that there is a game very very soon, in the next day or in a couple of days, and reacting can be the most important decision on what
Yes.
you can do.
And there's no point in, the guy, he of course he felt tiny afterwards and he had to come, we had a meeting with him, and there's no point in like pushing him down completely, because he has to do the next match as well, and I'm relying on him to do it right. So there's no if I burn him down completely, then where is his confidence going to be for the next match? So yes, of course, we had a very serious discussion about him, but he had punished himself more than I could ever do. So, and then for sure it would not happen again the rest of the tournament.
Sure, no, and there we see the difference of managing and leading as well. And
yes.
And finally, Priscilla, the last question: what advice would you give to any smart student or to anyone who wants to work in women's football or want to step in this industry?
Follow your dreams. Do it. Just do it. Look at the opportunities there are. There are maybe more opportunities than you think. You yourself, you worked as a volunteer at the Women's Euro, and sometimes when you want to work in an industry where a lot of people want to work, you have to invest. You invested. You yourself, you went to Holland. You invested your time and your money to be there, and that way you got a lot of contacts. That's where we met. And I think if you want to get into the sports, and especially the football industry, where a lot of people want to work, you need to invest. And there are a lot of jobs out there, but it means maybe traveling to a different country for a while, being a volunteer, investing. Don't expect to be at the top of the hill when you start. But if you do invest, and if you have the right mindset, and you're willing to learn, you will get there. So go for it, follow your dreams, and be smart, and be willing to invest.
And I guess that also investing in education, because one of the things I learned from you is that speaking many languages is very important, because you speak many of them, and I guess that's also a good advice as well to say
yes,
investing in education as well. So
of course, if you want to work in an international environment, you have to speak some languages for sure. English, you have to speak good English, but speaking Spanish or German or French helps a lot. Yeah.
Perfect. Great, Priscilla. So this was the last questions. Thank you very much for your insights. I think that you gave very good ideas to promote and to get and to keep growing women's football from either from a tournament or from a club side, and also as a professional, from a professional perspective. So I think that everyone will enjoy a lot this interview, and yeah, thank you very much for your time and for your insights.
Thank you, Xavi. Take care.